The Lamb of God in my place. Your blood poured out, my sin erased. It was my death you died. I am raised to life. Hallelujah, the Lamb of God. The Lamb of God. In my place, your blood poured out, my sin erased. It was my death you died. I am raised to life. Hallelujah, the Lamb of God. Hallelujah, the Lamb of God. Hallelujah, the Lamb of God.
Alexa, stop. Good morning, guys. How are you all doing? Doing well? Yeah? Good. Surviving another day of quarantine. Yeah, again, another one. All right, so we've got Anaya and Zach, Jessica, Michaela, Jeremy, and Chloe. And there's Travis. And we're just missing Sam, I think. All right. Oh, and speaking of, there he is. All right. Good morning, guys. We're going to just dive right in, see if I can get you out of here kind of quick, and you can work on some of your work from in here or work from outside of here. So I'm going to mute you all so I can teach you a little bit of grammar, and then we'll discuss a little bit of literature next, okay? All right. So first things first, we've got some grammar going on. So if you want to open up your grammar books, your handbook, to page 152. Page 152. All right, we're going to highlight a few of these rules. So you want to be sure you're following along so you can highlight some of these rules. Be sure you're paying attention to them for a future grammar quiz. All right, so on page 152, we have titles. We're still talking about our capitalization rules. We capitalize the titles of people. You want to be sure that you know that you capitalize the titles when they are used before a person's name. So be sure you highlight that and know that before a person's name. Like President Eisenhower, Secretary of the Treasury O'Neill, Governor Perry. You highlight the title or you capitalize the title before the person's name. So be sure you highlight that. Titles following a name or used alone in place of a name are not usually capitalized unless they're used in direct address. So the exception would be President. President is usually capitalized when it refers to the President of the United States of America, even if it doesn't have his name right after it, but it's referring to the President of the United States of America, then that's different. Otherwise, if it's just the President of the school, it's a little p, unless his name is right after or her name is right after. All right, letter C. You want to highlight, know this one. Highlight letter C on page 153. Capitalize family relationship words when they are used before a person's name and when used alone in place of the name. So we visited Uncle Louise, capital U. What shall we buy Mother for Christmas? Are you using that in place of her name? So it's just Mother. Yes, Dad, direct address, so capital D. However, if I just say her father died at the age of 92, I don't capitalize that. I'm not using that in place of his name, just stating a fact. Or several cousins have come to visit. I didn't name any of them. It's not Cousin Joe. It's just cousin, so it's little c. So be sure you're aware of that. Be sure you highlighted letter C. All right, 41.4, capitalize the titles of works. I think you guys probably remember that. Capitalize all the essential words in books, magazines, poems, stories, plays, music compositions, paintings, and sculptures. We don't capitalize prepositions or articles unless it's at the beginning of the name. All right, miscellaneous. So a couple random things you need to keep track of. 41.5, you want to be sure you highlight this. Capitalize the first word of every sentence. Capitalize the first word of every sentence, including quoted sentences. So be sure you highlight that and know that. The sleeping of a laboring man is sweet, capital T. Vince Lombardi said, and then inside his quote, fatigue, that's capitalized, makes cowards of us all. So be sure you're aware that you capitalize, of course, the first word of every sentence, including the first word inside a quote. So be sure you're familiar with that rule. To finish up on page 154, we have 2 more rules left. You don't have to highlight these, but you need to be sure you're familiar with them, which you probably are because they're kind of old rules, like capitalizing the pronoun I or the interjection O. I should know that by now. Capitalize the first word in every line of poetry. I'm pretty sure you guys all know that as well. When you have poetry, you capitalize the first line all the way down, even if the sentence is not finished. And it's the middle of a sentence, you still capitalize the first word of every line of poetry. So hopefully you remember those rules. I don't think that any of those, to be honest with you, are brand new. They're pretty ancient. But for 12th grade, we're just reviewing all of our grammar so we can become masters of it all. So to practice that, page 76. Page 76, exercise 141. I'm going to give you a couple moments of seat work time. to go ahead and do that. And then we're going to roll over into literature and highlight some literature terms and discuss some yesterday's literature stories that you read and introduce what we're going to talk about read tonight. So I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes of seat work time. So I'll just put up a quickie sign. You can feel a little bit private time. And then we're going to go through and answer those things here in just a moment. All right, so if you're with us on YouTube, we're just doing a few minutes of seat work on page 76. Alexa, continue. Alright, if you think you're done, put your thumbs up so I can realize if you kind of. Alright, good. Alexa, stop. Alright, let's go ahead and see how that went for you. Nice thumbs up. Stan went outside. I don't blame him. This beautiful day, I'd be outside for this too. Well, never mind. He didn't go outside. He just has a giraffe background. I thought you were outside for a brief moment. I saw some sky. I was all excited because I'm jealous I can't be outside in the sunshine.
I wish I could find a weird background like that on my photos.
Okay, well, in the future, come in with one background and keep it. All right?
Alright.
Thank you. All right. I do look forward to seeing everybody's variety of background, though. I think it's fun. Okay, that being said, page 76, let's go over our capitalization and see how that's working out for us. So, let's see. I'm just going to start at the top with the first person I have on my screen. It happens to be Jessica. Jessica, number 1, please tell us all the words you capitalized.
I had to capitalize on leaves, and then language and thought and action, and senator.
Perfect. Perfectly done. And Michaela, you're next, number 2.
Quotations. And the after the quotation.
All right, good. The ant. All right, good job. Zach, you're next, number 3.
grandfather, Atlanta, American, Mr.
Okay, actually this time we don't have to capitalize grandfather because we don't have his name like grandfather George. We don't have his name after there, and we're not talking to him, so that one actually can be a little. That's where it's always hard to distinguish which one's capital, which one's not. That's a little bit hard. So that's one of those times when it actually stays little. It doesn't have his name after it, and we're not talking to him. And then you're right, elected monthly, reintroducing. We start off that quote right there. So capitalize, reintroducing, and then classics, American education you mentioned, and Mr. Yeah. All right, good job. So Chloe, number 4.
Anthony, equestrian monument, whatever that
I know, some nice complicated words. All right, good job. Those are all the ones that need to be capitalized. Anaya, number 5.
Gaming, true, and such.
Yep, that's it. Good job. And then monkey dude is Travis. Oh, there's Travis. Number 6.
Boy.
Yes, almost. Remember the word thing about deity is we also capitalize pronouns referring to deity. So, right, Lord and His. All right, good job. Good job. All right, so we're going to go over to literature. That's all we're doing today in grammar. So literature, though, let's talk a little bit about what you read last night. Last night you're supposed to read In Memoriam, Alfred Tennyson. This was his memorial to his friend whom he loved, and counted dear, who was supposed to marry his sister, but then did not. So let's talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to get to highlighting some terms. So In Memoriam, in the prologue, the author reveals his faith in God and God's justice, even when he does not understand God's purpose or God's ways. In stanza 27, he reflects on how much better it is to feel anger, guilt, weariness, and sorrow than to go through life never feeling anything at all. Stanza 28, he describes the Christmas bells that ring in his town and the 3 towns near his and the effect they have on his mood and his thoughts. By 34, he discusses how futile life would be if there was no immortality. By the time we reach 54 and 56 stanzas, the author expresses the hope. So he's kind of changed from, when you first lose somebody, there's just, honestly, there's this hole in your life and your heart, and you just have this gloomy feeling, of course, and this heaviness that sits on you. And in a lot of ways, you start to question things. You start to question the purpose of life. You start to question, why God lets things happen. And it really kind of shakes everything up for you, and you really kind of have a hard time focusing on something positive. But as you go through the steps of grief, we see that in this poem, by the time he hits stanzas 54 and 56, he's starting to work out of that grief and starting to feel like life is worth living again and hopeful. He, in fact, expresses hope that every evil thing in life serves a purpose and will eventually come to good. He discusses how nature seems to refute the idea that life is immortal, and though his faith falters sometimes, he chooses to cling to his hope. He again expresses the worthlessness of life if there is no immortality. And then by stanzas 104 and 106, he describes the Christmas bells again. It's been a year or two. I remember I read that, but I forgot. I think it might have been 3 years. I don't know, maybe it was just a year. Anyways, but the Christmas bell rings again. He's worked through the year worth of grief feeling, and how this time, before it felt like pointless and hopeless, this time how they will someday usher in a new age of peace, true Christianity, and triumph over disease and evil is how he feels about the Christmas bells this time around. In the very last stanza, the author celebrates Arthur Hallam's birthday, remembering him and honoring him, which is a fun thing to do. I know if you've ever lost somebody, the first birthday that they have after their passing can be a hard one, so it's fun to find a way to celebrate them. And that's what he did, and he found hope and continued on. So, quick thought or question for you guys. I'm going to mute all of you. Contrast the tone of the first Christmas after Hallam's death in stanza 28 with the third Christmas. All right, so it was 3 years. With the third Christmas in stanzas 104 and 106. What difference do you see in the first Christmas as opposed to the third Christmas 3 years later? All right, this is open conversation, so anybody at any point can just share the differences you see.
To me, like the first Christmas was like every time we woke up, we felt like pain and heartbreak. And then like the third Christmas, you felt like start getting used to it.
All right, good. Right, started to accept this, to accept the new norm, and to start looking forward to the peace that was beginning to fill his heart. All right, good. In what ways is Tennyson's optimism indicated in this poem? Can you find some ways in which he sees optimism through the loss of a friend? Right, so optimism, what does optimism mean, guys? All right, hopeful, looking forward to something. All right, hopeful is a good one. All right, Sam, you need to land on something and stay on it, please. Your head just randomly pops up underneath the giraffe. All right, you guys also read Enoch Arden last night. Philip Ray and Enoch Arden grow up with Annie Lee, and when they are young men, both fall in love with her. Annie chooses, however, to marry Enoch, and they have several children. Enoch, who has become a very successful sailor, wants to provide well for his children, and so he sails to China to make his fortune. Though he does not return for 10 years, Annie waits faithfully for him. When Annie runs out of money, Philip, who is still in love with her, puts her children through school and provides for all their needs. Eventually, Philip, convinced that Enoch is dead, asks Annie to marry him, and after making him wait a year and a month for an answer, Annie finally agrees. Meanwhile, Enoch, who has been stranded on an island all these years, is rescued and returns to his town to find Philip and Annie married with a child now of their own. Overcome with grief, he becomes very ill, and after telling his story to the woman in charge of the inn where he is staying, he dies. How was Annie to provide for her children and for herself while Enoch was away at sea? Remember, as you read this story, because I'm sure you did this time.
She had a trade of some kind, but it didn't end up working out.
All right, good, right. She actually had a shop in her home, right? And she tries to, where she bargains different things, and she didn't, but that endeavor, you're right, it didn't really work out. It failed. All right, good job. All right, wouldn't that be just disturbing to be lost at sea all that time, be stranded on an island, and then end up coming home to find the person that you love that kept you alive that whole time in your mind has married and now has another child? That would be dreadful. No? Yes? You'd be good with it? You'd be disturbed? You'd be distraught? You have no thoughts about literature at all?
Okay.
This is sad. All right, you guys gonna have to engage. This is gonna be really boring, really fast. I will make literature drag on and take the whole 40 minutes just to bother you. So get engaged. All right, engage with me on literature. Okay, let's highlight a few things then at this moment in your literature book, because you will have a literature term quiz in the future. So let's go ahead and look at those things now. These are the terms. Once I get there. All right, these terms you need to know. Page 492 to 494. You want to be sure you highlight those terms and that you are familiar with them. They will be on a future terms quiz. Remember, we've had a terms quiz before. This is your next one. So start on the bottom of page 492. You find the word meter. You want to be sure you highlight the measured rhythm of a poem. Page 493, you'll find miracle play. Be sure you highlight no medieval play founded on the legend of a saint. The next one on that list is novel. Be sure you highlight extended prose fiction. A little later in that paragraph, it says it has characters, a plot, a theme, and a setting. That's what makes up a novel. Next word you need to know is pageant. Pageant, a movable stage platform upon which medieval dramas were performed. That's what you'll need to remember about a pageant. Pantheism, the false idea that the Spirit of God dwells in nature. To commune with nature is to commune with God. It's a false idea. Paradox, a truth expressed in the form of an apparent contradiction. I'm sure you're aware of that. Paraphrase is our next term, a retelling of a work in one's own words. Pastoral, we've looked at this before, classical love song dealing with shepherds and rustic life. Page 494, you'll find poet laureate, a court poet or official state poet. And then the last term for this quiz will be the word refrain. Refrain, a phrase or sentence which is repeated at intervals. Refrain. I'm going to give you one more. It's going to be on a future test, and that's going to be romantic age. That's going to be on a test, not going to be on this quiz necessarily, but you will want to be familiar with it because you won't see it again. Romantic age, you'll need to know that's toward nature, country people, and the simplicity of expression. That's the part that you need to remember about that age. Nature, country people, simplicity of expression. All right, and then tonight, your homework is going to be to read Isles of the King by, again, Alfred Tennyson, page 333 to page 341. That is today's homework. And you need to be sure that you're working on your essay. Be sure you're working on your essay. All right, so your essay's due tomorrow, 5-paragraph essay. If you've uploaded already, awesome. If not, be sure you upload that tonight. And again, reading pages 333 to page 341, Isles of the King. We'll discuss that a little bit tomorrow, so be sure you're familiar with that so you can engage in conversation tomorrow. All right, anybody have any questions? No? All right, well, we are done really quick today. That's all we're going to work on. So I'm going to say goodbye to y'all, and I'll see you tomorrow. I hope you guys are able to get all that done quickly today. All right, bye, guys.
Bye.